we finally have more than just a handful of games from what they called week 0 or whatever. College football came back with a bang. You just heard the blocked extra point that would have sent LSU and Florida State to overtime is one of the many games that we will discuss this afternoon. 365 Sports, Sick on 365 Radio as well. There was a weekend, wasn't there? My goodness, some of the teams like Georgia and Alabama flexed their muscles. Ohio State handled their business with Notre Dame, pushed a lot. Florida, of course, with a huge win against Utah. You just heard again that Florida State and LSU finish. So much to get to. What, in your opinion, Paul Catalina, Craig Smoak, what was the biggest win among anybody? The biggest win in college football over the weekend?
I would say it's Florida beating Utah. I mean, I know that they're at home in the Swamp, but that's the number 7 team in the country coming in to a team with a new coach, with a quarterback who knows he's a starter for the first full season, hasn't done that yet on that full scale. Anthony Richardson showed his potential and what he can do. That highlight on that 2-point conversion was in the open as well. I think that, to me, was the biggest win of the opening weekend because that was just an out-and-out, for sure, upset. Like some of the ones that happened, you can maybe make an argument, but that was a huge win for Billy Napier to start out.
I mean, I think it was an upset. I don't think it was like that big of an upset, though. I mean, I'll agree with you that it could be the biggest game, but I don't think it was like, App State beating Michigan or anything. There was plenty of people. No, I know I'm going a little over the top there, but there was plenty of people, including our guest on Friday, that thought Florida would win this game. It being in the Swamp for one, just the fact that a lot of people were polishing up Utah to be like this team that was just going to go in there and have their way and was an automatic no-brainer. I agree with you. I think Florida probably had the best win, but I don't think in the long run it was really all that surprising, even if it was still an upset. So I'd have that there. I think Arkansas's win over Cincinnati was really nice. Cincinnati made it closer than maybe it was expected to be, at least early on. It looked like it might get a little out of hand, and Cincinnati came back and kept it close. But that was a nice win for the Razorbacks, and I think Houston's win over UTSA. Yeah. That wasn't one where they beat somebody they weren't supposed to beat, or it was some shocking result. But I mean, the game itself was pretty crazy, and Houston was looking a little worse for wear there for a little while, and they were able to fight back and beat the Roadrunners like they were supposed to. But I had to deal with the big time Alamo Dome crowd, and it's a lot going against them. So yeah, those are 3 that stand top of mind.
All right, those are some good ones to discuss. I didn't get back really and have a chance to watch much of college football at all. Paul and I will get into that a little bit later on today. If you think Utah had a tough weekend in Gainesville and getting out because they were delayed the entire next day, just got back, I think, sometime late last night, slowly but surely, or even possibly some today, you ought to hear the weekend that we had on our trip to West Texas. But that's the bottom of the barrel of what matters. Here are some bangers. We're going to go back to what happened because that's what we want to do. We'll take your calls in the next segment as well. Bangers this week, Houston at Texas Tech. Kitley and the offense at Tech, they were just rolling along. Houston with the dramatic win against UTSA. How about the game between Iowa State, Iowa, where the Hawkeyes scored 7 points, and it wasn't a touchdown? Two safeties and a field goal.
Yeah, and the 2 safeties were in the third quarter and the fourth quarter.
That's crazy.
That's embarrassing. I mean, I know everybody has fun with that, and Iowa every year. It's like that tradition of just how vanilla and bland they are, but that's embarrassing. Come on, dude. Seriously, that's the best that you can muster at Iowa at this point. I mean, really, come on.
Yeah, they are.
But they'll be 8, 9.
I know, but come on. I mean, what are we really doing here?
I will say this, and I mean, no disrespect for Kurt Ferentz and what he's done, but watching that team year in and year out is like walking into a restaurant and they only have grape nuts. If you walk, what would you have? Oh, we have grape nuts.
I would take grape nuts in a heartbeat if that was,
But I get it. But it's so when you're watching it, well, I mean, there's going to be fiber, so I guess.
I mean, there's no way you enjoy that. I mean, you enjoy the wins and you enjoy the consistency of it and all that. And yeah, Kirk Ferentz is an incredible head coach, but 7-3 over South Dakota State. I mean, are you freaking kidding me? Come on, dude. That's a game that I don't care how vanilla you are offensively. You can muster more than 7 points, and they didn't even do it offensively. Yeah. Are you kidding?
Tim Vermeer is a great fan of Iowa. He always is poking at me because I love Nebraska no matter what, and it's not like they were all that beautiful over the weekend either. but we have to hear from him on the chat room at some point just to see what he has to say. But Iowa State, Iowa, that's another one. Bama at Texas, that's where game day apparently will be. Baylor at Brigham Young late Saturday night.
Yeah. Going back to Iowa real quick, there's a fantastic book I recommend every football fan read called The Big Scrum, and it's about football in the early part of the 20th century and how it was nearly made illegal, and Teddy Roosevelt got all of the people like Amos Alonzo Stagg and people like that and Walter Camp in a room and said, we're going to make rules that basically line up across. You can't make up rules before the game, so it's safe. We're going to have some precautions. Well, I think Kirk Ferentz, had he been in that meeting, would have really slowed the process down. Or he didn't get the memo that there's new rules.
Yeah, I mean, it's one thing to do it a little bit old school. That to me is that's not even fun football. But Iowa fans, I love it, I'm sure. I mean, most of them have to, right? I would think, and you can't argue with the results ultimately. But 7-3, and that didn't even come from a touchdown. That's 4 points with safeties and back-to-back quarters to end the game to win. Like, what is that?
Yeah,
what even is that?
I couldn't believe it. I, again, missed a lot of Saturday because of our trip back from West Texas and then the pregame and then much more that would happen after that as well. So those are some of the highlights. Florida, Paul, congratulations last night. It was two logos, both unranked, but I like what I saw. The Florida State quarterback, to me, has got that blank in his neck. He just kind of makes plays. The defense made enough. That was not the prettiest game either, but what an incredible finish. 99 yards LSU after the fumble at the one that would have put the game away, and then they have the extra point blocked.
Mike Norvell almost had his second big what are you doing moment last night after Jacksonville State. Now, that one's a little bit better than Jacksonville State, but even still, it kind of falls in the same category. I've determined that Mike Norvell is the best coach in America or one of the best in the middle 50 minutes of a game. In the first 5 minutes and the last 5 minutes, he's abjectly terrible. But they held on and won last night. They got super lucky at times, but the game plan was really good.
They played well. Congratulations. It was a game on national TV.
They played well.
Just because they got a win doesn't mean he can't say they didn't do some things wrong. Let's not pretend that was a great brand of football by either side.
No, it was. I told Garrett last night, it was like watching a Kleenex and a paper towel wrestle. I mean, that's what it was. I mean, they're the same. Like, it was the Spider-Man meme, that's what it was. Yeah. Jordan Travis is a better version of Jaden Daniels. The offensive line at Florida State's like a year ahead of where the LSU one is, but they're kind of going through similar things. Skill positions are good, but nobody can get the ball. There's a lot.
They won, though.
They won.
They won, though.
It would have been brutal if they not.
LSU feels like a team that's like constructing a building, but they're only like, they've got like the skeleton.
They're putting the steel in the ground.
There's just, you can tell it's completely unfinished and it's not even close to being where they want it to be, but like they have to roll it out there right now and like let people, you know what I'm saying, Garrett?
It was like a last chance U roster. It was bad football, man.
Yeah.
Bad football.
Yeah, and then Jaden Daniels, though.
That was the only offense they had.
It was. You're right. Neither team really ran the ball well, although the quarterback at Florida State got loose a few times and gives them that little extra half a second or two with his legs and ability to throw the ball down. I like him. I like him a lot. Tennessee at Pitt this week. Pitt coming off the win against the Mountaineers. Kentucky at Florida this week. And UTSA goes to Army in their second week. And then next week they have Texas as well. Couple of Big 12 games to put up a note. It's Arizona State at Oklahoma State. Kansas plays at West Virginia. It's a Big 12 game. And Missouri plays at K-State. Kansas State, of course, with a shutout win to open up their year. So Florida with the best win. Who had the worst loss?
Wait a second. Going back to the Big 12, what were those games that you just said?
Missouri at K-State, Kansas at West Virginia, Arizona State at Oklahoma State.
I know, but what's the category that you were pointing out?
No, I just was throwing them out there. I just said just kind of like, here are the bangers. And then I gave a couple of the other games nationally that might have some implications. And then there's just, I wanted to just mention a couple of the Big 12 teams. And who
okay, I was just wondering if that was like the special games or the full schedule, because it was just like half the schedule. Okay, so that's all I was wondering.
I've already mentioned Baylor and Texas.
I got you.
All right, and then Friday, by the way, UCF will play at home against Louisville as a former or as an incoming Big 12 team?
I
Who
would-
had the worst loss?
Virginia Tech probably losing to ODU. I think that's a pretty bad one.
and losing some stuff in the locker room, too?
Yeah, but I think that was a pretty bad one. And there were almost a couple more in the ACC. NC State almost lost to East Carolina. I don't know, like
How about North Carolina in that game?
Yeah, Virginia Tech went to ECU a few years ago and lost, and then NC State again almost did it, if not for the kicker missing those kicks. And then, of course, Appalachian State had a 40-point fourth quarter against Mac Brown. And if Mac Brown was anybody other than who he is, the papers and the websites in Chapel Hill would be going just bats over him.
40 points, 62 points in the fourth quarter in that game. 40 by Appalachian State, and again they almost able to pick up and just kind of slam the door on Carolina. And there's always going to be a game or 3 or 4 like that in the opening weekend as well.
Yeah, I'd go with Oregon. That was flat out embarrassing. I don't care that it was Georgia. For all of the discussion surrounding the Pac-12 right now, and Oregon and the Big Ten and all of that, and how much of a darling they would be, or how many eyeballs they would bring, or whatever about their brand and all that. Yeah, I mean, we finally rolled the football out there, and Georgia's going to do that to most teams, but that was just even worse than expected because of the fact you also had the tie-ins with Dan Lanning. You had the realignment discussion. Here's Oregon. Like, we deserve to be in the Big Ten. They just go out there and just get absolutely thrashed by Georgia. But not that one had anything to do with the other. It just was interesting to see how lopsided that game was because it was built up to be a big non-con game. Even if most people knew Georgia would win and probably win comfortably, that was just never even close.
No, it wasn't. The chat room will take calls.